Welcome to Courage on the Pitch.
North Carolina champions again!
Here's Megan O'Keefe.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Courage on the Pitch, presented by Wake Orthopedics Urgent Care. Holy cow, we have an incredible episode for you. Brianna Pinto is on the show this week, and for anyone who tuned into the game or was at our very first home game of the Challenge Cup, Brianna had an insane game, as well as the whole team, but Brianna scored her first Courage goal, her first professional goal, and this is a player who has come up through the ranks and played youth with the NCFC youth program, played for the Tar Heels, and has just had a remarkable career. And it was just a movie moment for her to score on Saturday night. So we talk all about that game. And but before we get into our conversation, we will do a quick recap as well. Some more details about this exciting match on last Saturday. The Courage faced off against Gotham from New Jersey, New York, Gotham FC, and we won 2-0, obviously big goal by Brianna, as well as our center back captain, Abby Urseg, put a goal away. So massive game. Casey Murphy, normally our starting goalkeeper, was injured. So got to give a big shout out to Caitlin Rowland, starting in goal, had an incredible match as well, keeping the shutout for the Courage. And so all around awesome night. We dive into it with Brianna, who is our guest today. So let's get right into our conversation with Pinto right after this quick break.
Courage on the Pitch.
Off the field.
We are rolling. We got Brianna Pinto on the show. We're so excited to have you. Obviously, you're coming off a pretty massive weekend. Let's talk about the game. Okay, so it's your Courage debut. You're playing against your old team, and you scored. So have you come off the high of this weekend's game yet?
Yes, I would say I have, because we've got another game next week and we've got to get focused for that. But I think it was just such a great weekend. This is something I've dreamt of, scoring my first professional goal. This also was my first start, so it was very meaningful. And then to play against my former team, I wanted to show that I had something to prove. And thanks to the collective effort of the entire NC Courage team, I think we came out with a bang, and it was really impressive to start the season off that way. And we just want to continue building from there.
Yeah, you guys really looked so good. I mean, I'm sure there were a lot of nerves, and with it being the first game, and the roster just looking so different. But I was curious, was there some extra motivation for you because you were playing against a team that you played for?
Absolutely. I wanted to make sure that I found a way to score. Again, I want to be a difference maker on this field, and I'm lucky to play around so many people on this team who can make stuff happen in any given moment. And I think we capitalized on a great service from Carson Pickett, and I was happy to see Kiwi score as well, because winning more than 1-0 is always great. So I wanted to make it a point. I'm here to stay. This is the club that I'm proud to represent. And it was just such a blessing to do so in front of so many friends and family.
I know your whole family was there. I got to see you guys take a little selfie after the game. I mean, your whole family, you are in North Carolina, you're a homegrown player, played college here. What was it like I'm reliving this night for you, such a big night, and for it to be in front of your family. What did that mean for you?
Yeah, so I think this was a huge point for me because I actually didn't travel when I was with Gotham, when I was coming back to North Carolina last season. So this is my first opportunity to play on this field again. And this field has meant a lot to me because I've won a lot of games with Carolina there. Even on the field surrounding the main field, I grew up playing club soccer there. So to have all my friends and family there was just a testament to the investment they've made in me and how hard I've worked to get to this point. And I think it was just a shared win for all of us, because without my family and friends, I would not be here today. So I just am feeling so grateful for just everything that happened to make this moment occur.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about it from your perspective, that was, you couldn't have written it up any better for it to be your goal, against your old team, your family there. So that was super special to get to see. And speaking about on the field stuff, people looking from the outside at the Courage roster, lots of defenders, good amount of midfielders, not a lot of strikers. And so for the goals to come from you as a midfielder and then our center back, what's your message to fans and people that are like, the Courage has no offense? Like, what is your message to, fans that kind of have that critique that we're sort of lacking on the offensive front?
I think Sean said it in a couple interviews, like North Carolina Courage is never to be doubted. We've worked incredibly hard this preseason to make sure that we're prepared mentally, tactically, physically. And I think that showed in the first match. Obviously, as we go throughout the rest of the season, we want to continue getting sharper. But for myself, a midfielder, and for Kiwi, a center back to score, it shows that we're dangerous on all fronts. I do think that we have a lot of versatility because we've got so many well-rounded players on our team, and it's going to take all of us to win games this season. And I think we're less focused on what the technical terms are for our positioning, but we want to be difference makers all over the field. And I think this was a moment to show that. So again, I want to have goals and assists this season, and I want to feed our forwards, because somebody I want to shout out was Taylor Smith. I think she played incredible. Just the run she was making and how hard she was working defensively, I think was the difference between winning and losing. And if we continue to have effort like that across the field, I think we're going to win a lot of games this season.
Yeah, it was really cool to see, some of the new faces and, returners like Taylor, who didn't necessarily get a lot of minutes last season, but then stepped up huge in this game. So just an all around really awesome night. I'm curious, what was his message after the game? I mean, I'm sure he was a little bit nervous with it being his first, game as a full-time head coach, but what did he say to the team after the big win?
He just said he was so proud of just the effort. And Kiwi, actually, he gave the floor to Kiwi to speak. And she just said that this was one of the best performances that she's seen in her time here in an opening match. So to hear that was extremely uplifting. But Sean is always going to keep us attuned to the details, and he wants us to remember that there's more work to be done. So we're going to celebrate our success, and then we're going to get right back to work this week. So I'm super excited for the week ahead, and I'm just grateful that we've got such good leadership that's going to lead us to success this season.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's a long season ahead, obviously, but what an awesome way to start it out. So speaking about Sean and you, growing up in North Carolina, you played for him as a youth player. So what year did you start with the youth program? I think it was like 20, I don't want to guess. What was it?
So with NCFC Youth?
Yeah.
So I started there when I was 12, turning 13.
Wow.
So I was coming from boys soccer, and they had the ECNL program at the time, and it was actually Castle. And I was playing with the best girls in the area, and I wanted to win a lot of championships and be around players who aspired to reach the collegiate level. And we had so many girls go on from that program to represent so many elite colleges across the country. And I think that's a marker of how well they do at developing our players at NCFC Youth. So to reach the professional level from the youth level has been cool, because even this past week I got to speak with Haley Stackpole and Sean Nahas and Andy Tate about the youth to pro journey, and just inspire the next generation of kids that they can get here too. I didn't get here without the help of so many other former professionals that have played in the NWSL or even the WPS before. So I hope that I can offer a hand back and be a source of inspiration for them. So if I can show up at any local youth events, I'm really excited about doing that, because this is my community. This is what I call home, and I'm just so passionate about being here in North Carolina. So I think this more specific to Sean. He's always been detail oriented. He holds me and all the other players to a high standard, and he knows that we have a high ceiling, and he wants to maximize our potential. And Sean himself is trying to become a better coach. And I think that mutually beneficial relationship in attaining our best potential is how we're going to continue to grow. So I've loved playing for Sean. He's always been super honest with me, super upfront, and he pushes me, and that's all I can ask from a coach. And to be brought back to North Carolina was one of the most special moments in my professional career, although it's been short. And I told him one of the added benefits is he's helping me graduate from college. So, because I have to be in person. So luckily I'm living the best of both worlds because I'm able to train in a world-class environment and then go to school in the afternoons.
Yeah, we'll get to your school stuff in a bit, but yeah, that is really awesome, especially for you to have had the journey that you have and it kind of come full circle, but obviously hopefully plenty more to come. But you've had the perspective of playing for Sean when he was coaching on the youth side, which is, the majority of his career, but now you're playing for him from the pro side. So can you give us like an inside look at what he was like, several years ago when you were playing for him as a youth player, and have you seen like any changes or differences, or is he kind of, stayed the same? What was he like back then?
Yeah, I think Sean has grown just in terms of his leadership and making sure that everybody's on the same page for what the vision is. I think when you're coaching young girls, it's different than an approach when you're coaching professionals. And one of the things that I've noticed here is like he wants to make sure that we know that winning is our job. And I think at the youth level, it's more about development. Like, how can we become 1% better every day? So he was really keen on making sure that we're doing the little things and creating good habits and training. But that's the expectation here. So I think just like how he treats us is he's treating us like professionals here. And I think that's the best way for us to grow as professionals and get to where we want to go, because at the end of the day, North Carolina Courage is known for winning championships. And that's always our goal as we continue on this season.
Love that. Yeah, I was fortunate enough to get to sit in on that talk you were just mentioning with you and Stackpole and Sean, and it was cool to get to see you speak with some of these youth players. What did it feel like to, be talking to some of these players who you've been in their shoes before? What was your advice to them, to hopefully one day get to where you are?
Yeah, I just said go into every training session with a growth mindset. You want to make sure that you always have high goals to get to and set your aspirations into things that are even outside what you believe you can do, because if you work hard, like anything you set your mind to can be achieved. And I think it's really been important to just be a part of their journey as well, because I think representation is important, especially for young athletes. They need to see somebody that's in the position that they want to be in and strive to be there every day. And if they can get tips from players like me and from Haley, it makes it more of a reality for them. So in addition to telling them, just coming with a growth mindset, controlling your work ethic, like how hard are you going to make your next sprint to get back in transition? Are you going to come in fit? Are you going to work on finishing in your free time? Those are all things that can separate the good from the great. And it's ultimately about what you put into it that you're going to get out of it. So I think there's so many valuable lessons to learn from the sport of soccer, because I think even if you decide that you don't want to be a professional soccer player, you'll learn valuable skills that will help you in your professional life when you go into another profession. So I'm just telling them to set their goals high, work hard, treat people well, and go in with a growth mindset.
Some great advice. Yeah, that was awesome. And you're right. Like, there's so many lessons that you learn during soccer that you don't even realize it. Once your career might be over and you're in a new, chapter of your career, that you look back and you're like, oh wow, I learned all these like life lessons, even though I thought I was just kicking a ball around with the team. So it's great that you were able to, share that messaging with players who are probably just like so excited to even be on a Zoom with you. So that was really cool to see. So as I was, doing some research on your background, which is so extensive, even at the early stage that you are in your career, you've just accomplished so freaking much, which is incredible to see. So not only did you crush it on the UNC stage, you've been playing pro, you also have a ton of youth and full national team experience. I think it was 2017 when you were called up to the full U.S. Women's National Team roster, and you became the youngest player to play in the She Believes Cup. Is that correct? And for the U.S.,
I was on the roster, yeah. So,
right.
But it was such valuable experience getting to learn from the best players in the world. So, yeah.
Yeah. Take us back to when you were rostered for the full team. I know you've been playing with the youth program for several years, but you made it to the full team, training with some of, like you said, the best players in the world. What was going through your head, going to that first practice where you're up against, Alex Morgan, Carly Lloyd? What was that like?
Yeah, so I actually got invited to the under 23s, and Jill came in at the beginning of the week and she was like, look, you guys are essentially the B team to our senior women's national team. We're going to be evaluating the entire week, and we want to bring a couple of you in to be exposed at the highest level. And I kept that in the back of my mind. Again, I was young. I went into that camp with a mindset that I just want to get better. Like, I want to have fun while I'm out here. This is just such a wonderful opportunity. So I think I was playing pretty free, and I think that's when I'm at my best. So by the end of the week, I ended up getting called up to the senior team, and I actually missed the All-American banquet. And my dad flew out for it, but I mean, what's better than getting called up to the senior team for the first time? So in the first training session, the first thing I noticed was the intensity. Like, I cannot describe to you how intense the U.S. women's national team training environment is. I think it's more difficult than the game environment.
Really?
And they hold each other to such an elite standard. They're competitive, they're tough as nails, and I realized quickly that that's the level that I needed to get to, so that I could even match it. And I mean, I like physically, I wasn't anywhere near where they were, but I wanted to make sure that I went in there like I deserved an opportunity because I felt like I earned it. And again, I wanted to show what made me special, and I ended up getting called in for the She Believe 2017 She Believes tournament, and I was rostered. So to see the best teams in the world and play against, well, have the team play against them was such a learning experience because they were going into World Cup in a year and a half, and they wanted to make sure that they were firing on all cylinders and evaluating their players to make sure that they can construct the best team to win 2019, which they eventually did. But I'd say that I just learned what it really meant to be the most elite level of professional. And Carly actually was really, really great to me. She went out of her way to just get to know me as a person and a young player and hear my aspirations. So to have an experienced veteran like reach out in that way and like kind of push you along did mean a lot to me. There was obviously the Carolina connection.
Mhm.
I think Tobin was there and Crystal was there. So
Nice.
getting to meet them on a deeper level was great as well. And so many other players that I looked up to. I just had such an incredible experience, and I saw where I want to ultimately be, because at the end of the day, my goal is to be a mainstay on the women's national team, and hopefully I can make that happen. So.
Wow. I'm just thinking about, you talking about the intensity of training. And I mean, from an outsider's view, you get to see them on social media and all the videos they put out, and like their personalities are so fun and goofy. But then you talk about, obviously they're best athletes in the world in terms of soccer and just across the board. So what was going through your mind when you're in the training and it clicked for you, like how intense it was? Like what were some things you were telling yourself, like how to, whether it was fake it till you make it or push through, like what were some things that you had going through your mind when you were really pushing yourself to take it to the next level?
I'm naturally a perfectionist, so I was probably going to go into that environment like thinking don't make mistakes. But I think Jill did a really good job managing me as a young player, because she's like, look, mistakes are going to happen. This is the highest level of soccer. Like, just play free, do what makes you special. And I think just hearing that gave me the freedom to like play.
Yeah.
And I think when you have that as a player, you're equipped for success, because you're released of the burden that's on your shoulder. Like, I have to perform every moment. And when you're in a high stress environment to begin with, and you're stressed about every single touch that you're taking, um, usually it doesn't end up well.
Yeah.
But I think because they held me to a high standard, but they gave me the freedom to grow. I was able to do well, and I was able to focus on the small details that separate like a good pass from a great pass. So making sure that I was playing it to the front foot, making sure that I was protecting the ball, because physically, like, I was outmatched. So I needed to make sure I stayed in between the ball and the player. Also, my speed of play, I had to be that much quicker. I had to know where I was going with the ball, the texture of my passes. I think one of the first things they identified about my game at the time was the pace of a pass. Like,
Mm.
at the highest level, that you really drill it in and make sure that it gets there. At the youth level, you could get away with like kind of rolling it in slow, but that was the first piece of information that I learned that I was like, wow, like I can be better at this, and I can make a point to work on it in our training environment when we're doing passing drills and stuff like that. So that's something that's always stuck with me. I want to make sure that my distribution is good with the right pace and right texture. So that's one of the really valuable things that I learned in that time that has served me even today.
You're right. It's like those little things that kind of take it up to the next level. And I've heard a lot about him because I never went to the pro level, but like you hear about when you go to that next level, so much of it is the mental side of it as well. Like those details you're talking about, but also the mental side of it as well as the off the field, treatment and things that you're doing for your body. So I'm sure you're experiencing all of those things now because you've been going through it. But yeah, so I want to transition a little bit to the off the field stuff. Like you mentioned, you're finishing up your degree back at UNC, and you're obviously able to do that because you're now back in North Carolina, and you're studying business administration in Spanish. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Any inspiration as to choosing those degrees? What was behind that?
I knew that business administration would give me an opportunity to take it into really anything. I'm a firm believer in just like having multiple avenues of success. So like in the event that soccer weren't to work out, I want to have a lifestyle that I'm equally as passionate about. And I kind of found my passion in 2018 when I went to Moscow, Russia with the United Bid Committee. I was selected as the U.S. Youth Representative to speak on behalf of the United States when we made the joint bid for the United States, Canada, and Mexico for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And I got to speak in front of FIFA. It was the 68th FIFA Congress, and being in that room was just so cool. And to play a small part in bringing the World Cup back to North America was something that I'll remember for the rest of my life. I got to share the stage with players like Alphonso Davies of Bayern and Diego Lainez of Betis. And from that moment on, I knew that like after my playing career is over, hopefully I'll have a long career, but I want to work for FIFA, and I want to make our governing bodies more reflective of the people that actually play soccer across the world. Right now, it's not very diverse, and there are not many women in the room. And to be a minority, and then to be also a Black woman, I guess, in the highest level of FIFA, advocating for a men's World Cup made a statement. And I think that's what my passion is. And I'd love to like maybe have an administrative role in FIFA later on in my life.
Okay, wow. There's so much to unpack there. That is so cool, first of all, that you were the spokesperson, got to go to Russia and like you said, like speak off on behalf for the men's game, coming from the perspective that you have. That is so cool, just showing the unity behind, the game of soccer and how, it unifies people across the world, despite background. So that's so powerful. That is really cool. You had that experience. How old were you when you did that?
I was 18. Yeah.
Wow.
So
how did you prepare for that?
So actually, that was my first time delivering a speech. I actually missed my high school graduation for it, but it was so worth it.
Worth it.
So we had a speechwriter. They contacted me in like April of 2018, and they were like, "Hey, like send in a video about what soccer means to you." So of course, I took it really seriously, and I sent in a video talking about when I played with the under-19s in China, and we got to play against Iran, and that was their first international match. The youth level. So just to be on the field with them and just like share their joy and their passion for the game was incredibly empowering. And again, that's another moment, like an on the field moment that I'll remember forever. And I just talked about, again, like to your point, how soccer unites people of different backgrounds and gives us a level playing field. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. So I sent that video in. I ended up getting selected. And I worked with Obama's former speechwriter, Taryn Suplat, and we crafted a speech. We crafted a speech over the course of like 6 weeks. And then I was actually preparing for the under 20 cycle with the Youth World Cup for the 98 age group, and we had a tournament in France. And they're like, "Hey, like, can you leave your tournament in France and come to England to prepare for the event?" And I was a little nervous about it, to be honest, because I was like, well, like the World Cup's my focus. Like I need to play in these games. But I mean, the president of US Soccer was calling, so there's nothing they could do. It was above my coaches at this point. So anyways, I got on a plane, went to England. I missed our game versus Haiti, I believe. Do not quote me on that. And I was the only youth representative in the room because Diego was actually at the same tournament and like ended up not coming, and Alfonso was at some MLS event at the time because he was still with Vancouver. And I went up and I was giving my speech, and it was in a boardroom full of the most influential people in North American soccer. So I literally went up there and read the speech because like I didn't know how to give a speech.
Yeah.
And they're like, stop after like 3 words. They're like, you sound like you're dead. And I was like, what does that mean? So I kid you not, we spent 15 minutes practicing saying good afternoon. So one of the things I learned from my speech coach was that good afternoon and good afternoon sound very different. Like, so I learned how to like project my voice. I learned how to command the room, like where you look when you give a speech. I learned the proper pauses to take when you're speaking, and it was really, really intricate. And I actually found another passion for public speaking. So I felt really prepared. Like at the end of the day, I went on the stage when we got to Moscow like a week later, and I delivered the speech. I like to tell people that I was not there mentally. I was just reciting the speech as I had practiced 100 times before, because I was so nervous. I was like, please do not mess this up. We need the World Cup. But again, like I look back and it was just one of the coolest experiences. And the last thing I'll add, I know this has been long, but I asked the president of the Mexican Federation if we won. I really wanted to go to the training environment of Mexico ahead of their game versus Germany. So he made me that promise, and when we won, I got to meet Chicharito and Dos Santos. That was such a cool experience, and Mexico ended up winning. So to see the behind the scenes of that was super special.
Oh my!
I think it was the best week of my life. Also, before that, we went back to France and we won the tournament. So it was actually like the best week of my life with the U20s.
Oh, but this whole time my mouth has been wide open. Like you just dropping all these incredible things. Like, oh yeah, I was just coached by Obama's speechwriter. Like what?
It was great.
That is so cool. Holy cow. Okay. We need to do a whole nother podcast episode just breaking down that week because that was amazing. Wow, what a cool experience. Thank you for sharing that. That is amazing. Before we get to our fun little game at the end, I do want, again, this is another topic I feel like we could have a whole episode about, but I do want to touch on your work with the Black Women's Player Collective, the BWPC. So tell us a little bit about what that is first for anyone listening that isn't aware of this.
Yeah, so the Black Women's Player Collective is an organization that seeks to give opportunity to Black women in our league and make sure that they're supported. But we also give back to the communities, and one of the ways we do that is through the US Soccer Foundation mini pitches. So I'm really excited because we're getting one in Durham that was released a couple of weeks ago, and it'll actually be in my school district. So a couple of the BPC members and the BWPC members from the NWSL and the MLS will be at that event, and we'll get to hopefully run a clinic with local kids from Durham. And we're essentially making it a point that there's representation at the highest level of Black players who have come from communities just like them. And we want to help give resources and remove structural and financial barriers to entry in this game because, as we know, the pay-to-play model in US soccer, US youth soccer is really detrimental for a lot of people because it's expensive to play soccer. Again, like the BWPC has been so great. I was fortunate to play with so many members at Gotham who are have really important roles in the BWPC. So specifically, Amani, Midge, and Efi have kind of brought it up to what it is today, and I think they've just done a great job making sure that we have the resources and support that we need to make the best impact that we can. So. Yeah. Also, another shout out is to Adidas because they're sponsoring a lot of our events as well. And it's just nice to know that we can leave this game better than we found it. So
Yeah, it's really special what you're doing, and I'm curious, if you look back and think about, younger Brianna, 10-year-old Brianna, and if something like this were in place, how would she feel, or what would she think about, something like this?
I think I always want to extend uh, like gratuity and just how much this game has given me. I want to extend that to other people, and I feel like I could not have had a fraction of the opportunities that I've gotten in my lifetime if it weren't for other people or other organizations. So even if I can spend like a small part of my time giving back and making this game more accessible for more people, I feel like I'll play a role in leading this game better than I found it because I think we're coming into a wonderful era of American soccer, specifically with the World Cup coming and with the NWSL going into its 10th year. I think if we really draw the next generation of the youth into this game, we're going to have such an incredible foundation for years to come. So that's what I love about the reach that soccer has because, again, it brings people together. And I've made such a wonderful collection of relationships that I'll cherish forever.
Yeah, that's beautiful. If people want to support the BWPC, where can they go? What can they do? Where can they find more information?
Yeah, the BWPC is on Instagram and Twitter. There's also a website. So if you literally search BWPC, it'll be the first search and on every single social media platform. Yeah, so just continue to support us, get involved, donate if you can. And I think that's just the best way to continue to support our initiatives.
Yeah, I love it. All right. So I know you got class to get to, so I don't want to take up too much more time, but we got a fun little game. We're just going to do a little rapid fire real quick to learn a little bit more about Brianna off the field. I guess there's some soccer related stuff, but we'll do this real quick before we wrap it up. So are you ready? I'm just going to shoot out some questions and then whatever first comes to mind, it's going to fire off your answer. So
Okay.
We'll start out soccer related. Your soccer idol growing up?
Andres Iniesta.
This is 180. What's your most used emoji?
The laughing face.
Like the crying one or no tears?
The tears.
Damn. I use that for everything. Okay, Instagram or TikTok?
TikTok, actually.
Nice. I would probably say the same. If you won the lottery, what's the first thing you would do?
Invest money.
Okay, so responsible. Okay, well, Adidas shout out because I know you're an Adidas athlete. What's been your favorite Adidas cleat? Can you name it?
What's my favorite? I've tried every single one of them, and I like everything about all of them.
Good answer.
But I definitely say the Predators. They're what I'm wearing now. They're super comfortable. I've got a lot of room for my toes. That's very important to me. So yeah.
Good answer. Yeah, no, those are sick. It's like the ones with like the rubber on the outside. Yeah, those are cool. All right, here we go. Desert Island meal. Like the only meal you can eat if you're stranded.
Sausage and egg biscuit.
Ooh, that sounds delicious. Karaoke song.
I want to dance with somebody.
It's a crowd pleaser. Are you binging any shows right now? Current binge?
I am not. I haven't had time to watch TV, but I watched Succession on HBO, Money Heist, and Ozarks.
Ozark's insane. I just finished the most recent one. Wild. But yeah, I believe you when you say you don't have much time to do TV. All right. 3 more. A sport you were playing if you weren't playing soccer.
Tennis.
Okay. Your go-to coffee order, or if you
iced caramel macchiato.
Ooh, sounds delicious. And lastly, just whatever comes to your brain, the most memorable moment of your soccer career. On the field, playing career.
Wow. I think this weekend was close, but I think my first game as a Tar Heel, it was Anson's 1,000th win. I scored my first goal in my first appearance. And it was a lifelong dream to attend Carolina. So I'd say that one. This was a close second.
There we go. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I feel like we covered a ton, but I know you got class, so appreciate you joining the show and get on over to school. Don't be late for class.
Thank you for having me.
Coming up on Courage on the Pitch.
All right. Thanks, Brianna, for joining us on the show. Wow, we talked about a lot. That was incredible. Brianna's just accomplished so much, and I'm sure she has so much more to come in her career. So thanks, Brianna, for joining us. And coming up this weekend, the Courage are at home again. They take on Orlando Pride on Saturday, March 26th at 7 p.m. The game will be streaming live on Paramount Plus, but be sure to get your tickets and be there because the Courage will not be at home again until April 23rd. So be sure to come on over and check out the match live at home. And as you all know, you can follow the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, listen on Apple, Spotify, all those things. And you can also watch on 99.9 The Fans YouTube channel or on WRAL Sports Plus on Thursdays at 9 p.m. So thanks, guys, for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Courage on the Pitch with Megan O'Keefe is part of the Capital Broadcasting Podcast Network, with new shows available every Thursday on WRALSportsFan.com or wherever you get your podcasts.